Opportunity to speak to you quickly about how to get extended time for examinations. Sometimes you have a gifted child and the child takes a test and develops anxiety, or the child takes a test and needs extended time. This is not a bad thing for your child. Your kid's not dumb. Your kid doesn't have issues that cannot be, that require, detention. This is usually a gifted child who needs a certain environment to perform to a level where he or she can substantially produce a score that's representative of what the abilities are. So I need you, and even if this does not apply to your child, you should know that there are resources out there that will help your friends and your friends' friends, okay? Because a really smart kid who freezes the morning of the SHSAT, the morning of the SAT, the morning of the ACT, it not only devastates the kid and the parents, but if you're noticing there's an issue, or if you see someone with an issue, you need to go and get professional help. And there are resources out there. So I am honored to introduce you to the resource and to bring it here, okay, to Queller Prep. So I would love for you to speak more about extended time and about how to get evaluated for extended time. And if you can just go over what an IEP is, what a 504 plan is, how to get extra time for the SAT, how to get extra time for the ACT, how long it takes to get these accommodations, and most importantly, I do want to stress to all of you, this is not a child who needs to be grounded. This is a child who really needs help, really needs to be in an environment where he or she can perform to proper levels. And keep in mind that under the American with Disabilities Act, this in no way will hurt you with your college application, with your high school applications. This is not to discriminate against you. This is only designed to help you. With that being said, I would love for you to take over. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Martin Friedmer. I've been a licensed psychologist for the last 25 years. I have two offices, one in Bayside, Queens, and one in Scarsdale, Westchester. What Ms. Queller was talking about, there's a certain amount of students who come for test prep, study. The day of a high-stakes test, experience anxiety. They may draw a blank, they may work slowly, they get very nervous, they can't concentrate. And under the law, a child like that, a child who experiences anxiety, a child who has a learning disability, a child who has attention and concentration problems, can receive extended time on the specialized exam, PSAT, SAT, the state exams, regents in high school. It's a very detailed process. On the level of junior high and high school, it's called a 504 plan. A 504 plan is for a child who does not need any special education, but needs extended time on the test because they either have anxiety, they have concentration problems, or they have a learning disability. In order to get a 504 plan, they have to have a comprehensive evaluation. It's a three-part evaluation. One part of the evaluation is detailed history when the child first started experiencing problems, whether it's anxiety, concentration, a learning problem. So it goes into getting information. I've gotten information from the tutors here, from the teachers, from parents. There's checklists that are filled out. It's a whole detailed history. That's one part of it. The next part is I have to administer tests. I have to document that the child's either anxiety or concentration problem impacts their ability to learn or to take tests. Because under the law, if that is so, if we can document that, the law says that any child who has any of those difficulties is entitled to test accommodations. And the most common one is extended time, 1 1/2 the amount of time. If it's a 2-hour exam, they're entitled to 3 hours. So they're entitled to extended time to alleviate the impact of their difficulty. That's why they allow, under the Disabilities Act, for someone to have a 504 plan. So the first part of the process is an extended interview. The second part of the process is academic testing, reading, math, composition, writing. It's not just the straight scores. What happens is I'll talk to the child after, let's say, the reading comprehension part of the exam. Were they able to remember all the material and answer comprehension questions from memory? They have to reread the material after every comprehension question, because that gives me information about the way that they plan and organize and respond to questions. That's part of the process. It's not just their score. They could score a very high score or be above grade level, but still need help with concentration, with attention, either again because of anxiety, concentration problem, or learning problem. The third part of the exam is what's called an aptitude test, better known as an IQ test. So we measure memory, visual memory, auditory listening memory, vocabulary, abstract concepts. And then what happens is that there's a comparison between one's score on the aptitude test and how they do in academics, and whatever history they've had of having a difficulty. Then a detailed report is completed. Meet with the parent, the child, explain the strengths and weaknesses. The next part of the process, that report is sent to the school, or there's a particular form asking for test accommodations. And every school has what's called a 504 committee. And that committee looks over the documentation, and then they approve the test accommodations as long as all the documentation is there. And then when your child applies for the specialized exam, whatever test accommodations are approved by the 504 in the school are automatically approved for the specialized exam.
It's going to be on the child's ticket, right?
It would be on their ticket that they get extended time.
How many minutes they get more?
1.5.
One?
1.5 times. So if it's a 2-hour exam, they would get 3 hours.
Okay.
If it was a 3-hour exam, they get 4.5 hours.
My son has 504 file
Mhm.
because he was asthmatic since he started school.
Yes, what, for what?
Asthma. But he's never had.
No, there are two different types of 504 plans. There's a medical 504 for asthma, if you have any medical condition. That does not allow you for test accommodations. There's a
So how
separate...
should we apply this if we think that the kid needs it? Have we had to talk to the teacher?
No, you have to have an evaluation. It's not from, the report cannot be from a teacher. It has to be from someone like myself, a psychologist.
What's the time frame from all the? What's time frame?
Well, the 504 plan has to be in effect prior to the application. So the application, the deadline is October.
Yeah.
So the 504 plan really needs to be in effect in September.
Yeah, but how long it would need for you, the evaluation process and stuff?
Okay. Well,
From the day I walk into your office to the day I...
If we had to, if you came into my office in September and we had to do it all in one day, we could. I don't prefer to do it that way. The testing takes about 5 to 7 hours.
Okay. No, I understand.
If we had to do it over a day because...
No, I understand, but it's better to give
Right.
time to
Couple of
report.
weeks.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
The way the law works, not only are you entitled to test accommodations for specialized exams, you're entitled to test accommodations for PSAT, ACT, SAT. You're entitled to test accommodations if you're in college. In college, they have other test accommodations. If you have difficulty concentrating, you can qualify for someone who would be a note taker for you. You sit in the class and the school hires someone to take notes for you. You can take exams in a separate location. Some people are very sensitive to noise, to disruptions, so that you can take an exam where there's less students in the class.